Hi, it's Barrett from the All About Nothing podcast. This holiday season, make your celebrations unforgettable with ZJZ Designs. From festive Christmas prints to cheerful holiday designs, we've got everything to spread the joy. Introducing Eddie the Elf, dashing through the snow on his sled, perfect for adding that whimsical touch to your holiday wardrobe. Whether it's cozy sweatshirts or statement tees, find the perfect fit for everyone on your list. Ready to slay this season? Visit ZJZDesigns.com. ZJZ Designs, where style meets the holiday spirit.
The All About Nothing podcast may have language and content
that isn't appropriate for some.
Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, Nothingers, to another episode of the All About Nothing podcast. This is episode number 233. I am Barrett Gruber.
I am Zach King.
Thank you, Zach. We're going to welcome our good friend Zack Boyd to the show. Of course, the face and the whole thought process, everything that goes on behind Famously Garnet.
The creative force, the genius.
That's right. We're gonna talk to Mr. Zack Boyd here in just a minute. Please subscribe and share the show. That's how we get new listeners. Also, if you could, please consider supporting the show by visiting our website and clicking on the support link. If you can't do that, drop a review, hit the 5 stars, give us a thumbs up, or leave a comment. All of that helps drive us higher in all of these show rating platforms. Real quick, I want to thank Mrs. Lori King and Cole King for being on the last episode with us. Also want to thank Midas and Fame for having me on their show yesterday, which was Tuesday if you're listening to this at some other point. No shortcuts with Midas and Fames. You can find their show on YouTube. I will have links in the show notes. Also want to remind everybody that ZJZ Designs Christmas designs are now available. Christmas is coming up. You want to make sure you have something to wear when you go to visit family, or if you're going to go to parties and stuff like that. Really attractive t-shirts available. So check it out, ZJZ Designs, featuring, of course, Eddie the Elf. I have my Eddie the Elf shirt. I'm not wearing it currently because I refuse.
Who the hell is Eddie?
Eddie? Eddie the Elf. It's kind of like Eddie. It's kind of like Cousin Eddie, just wearing less bottoms. Everplay Sports and Social, also Everplay sportsandsocial.com. Tuesday Bowling is signing up right now at Bolero. Registration is going to wrap up, register before December 19th. So do that, everplaysocial.com. All right. What was that noise?
I said, all right. Whatever the Eddie the Elf is, we're going to let that go.
You know what? Next recording, I'll make sure that I'm wearing the shirt. We're close enough to Christmas. I'll wear it. All right. Joining us today is Zack Boyd, the passionate voice and face behind Famously Garnet, a social media hub that keeps fans engaged with all things South Carolina Gamecock. Zack is also the host of the Welcome Home podcast, where he dives deep into Gamecock sports and the broader world of college athletics. His dedication to covering the highs and lows of South Carolina sports, along with his expert insights, has made him a go-to source for fans everywhere. Welcome, Zack Boyd and Famously Garnet. Welcome, Zack.
Appreciate
back,
it, guys.
buddy.
Yeah, it's good to be back, man. We're not in the studio this time, so kind of throwing back a little bit.
Yeah,
we've all been Riverside boys now.
Yeah,
we're part of that team.
Hey, Riverside works. That's what we do the show on, man. Riverside has been great for us so far. We're at episode 163 now, I believe. 64.
Congratulations!
So. Yeah,
y'all are coming up on our numbers. Barrett, we have to do more.
We published almost 70 episodes this season.
That's true.
Like, this was one of our most robust seasons. Wait till season 8. Season 8 starts in January. We're gonna crush it. There's gonna be 2 or 3 episodes a week, Zach.
Well, so let me ask Zach, who is the team in chat? Chime in. What team got screwed the hardest in last night's college football playoff poll?
It's the only team that has won so many games so far straight in a row. It's the one that's won the most, and it's University of South Carolina. And look, you can take the Garnet glasses off per se, right? You can take the Garnet glasses off, but it's a team that has won 6 straight in a row, and that's against 4 top 25 opponents at the time. I mean, look, the resume speaks for itself. And not only are you winning 6 games in a row, 2 of them were on the road at Vanderbilt, which, by the way, they were ranked at the time.
Yeah.
Clemson on the road, right? And then at home, you broke the streak against Missouri, which is absolutely massive. You beat Texas A&M again at home.
In a rout.
In a rout, exactly. You routed them. The thing that comes to my mind And look, people can have their opinions, say what they want. That's fine, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, the brand matters. And quite frankly, if it's the University of South Carolina versus the University of Alabama in football, it's going to be Alabama every time.
Yeah,
it is. And the fact that the committee is not holding to things that they previously have either said or done. Florida State did not get in last year because their quarterback was hurt. They went undefeated. I think outside of how screwed South Carolina's getting right now, Florida State's the only one who's got it truly worse. How do you go on the road and beat Clemson, number 12, who's now going to go play for the ACC, and move one spot?
Mm-hmm.
That's mind-boggling. And then for him to come out and say the teams that aren't playing aren't going to move anywhere.
Yeah. No, watching Ward Manuel talk about, trying to come up with an answer when Reese Davis asked him about this, about this. It reminded me of your general politicians. Like, they just keep beating around the bush. They don't have the true answer. And by the way, that's what happened here. Ward Manuel just kept going, oh, well, so about Alabama and so. But here's the thing, all right? We all know it's cut and dry. We like Alabama more because it's going to get us more viewers. Fine. Just say it. Don't come up with this bull crap and not truly answer the question.
Exactly.
That's what it was. That's what it truly was. It was like a politician sitting there right there giving these bullish answers, not answering the question.
And not to Ward Manuel is a Michigan guy.
He is.
So I'm sure he's no more happy with South Carolina than an Ohio State alum on the board could be, for one. Two, how many teams are ahead of South Carolina that have 0 to no top 25 wins? Ranked opponent wins.
Quite a few.
So it's not even just South Carolina going like, we lost a head-to-head to Alabama and Ole Miss. Head-to-head has to count. Absolutely head-to-head has to count. Losses have to count too. Dirtbag losses have to count too. They don't want, for all I'm seeing, you got your Indianas and your Boise States. God love you. Your running back is a killer. But you're not doing it against the same people that all these other teams are doing it against. Rocket Sanders, put him as the running back for Boise State. Who's to say he doesn't have those numbers, if not better?
Fair enough, yeah.
It's just so rigged. It's a who's who. And then for Clemson to have their 3 losses and say they upset SMU to get in, you're going, dude, I can't believe that. Yeah. Because they'll look back at us and be like, yeah, you beat us, but look at us. We're in the playoffs. Like,
well, and take it back a few weeks ago, right? When the playoff rankings initially came out and South Carolina was ahead of LSU. Yep. And they talked about in this particular ranking, that the reason why LSU was behind South Carolina, and they took it head-to-head, they understood that. They took that in mind. But they also said, well, where LSU's trajectory is going. What are we doing? Alabama just got blown out by Oklahoma at Oklahoma 2 weeks ago, right? Like, what are we not counting that all of a sudden, right? Ole Miss, you just lost to Florida, and unranked Florida. Hey, granted, Florida's not a bad team. They actually turned out to be a very surprising team this year. But you still lost. You still lost to a unranked Kentucky at home, right? There's a lot of these losses that but Ole Miss and Alabama had that South Carolina, quite frankly, didn't have. And I get the head-to-head, I get it. But why would you say, hey, let's put Alabama in instead of South Carolina and Lenore Sellers, which are the hottest teams right now? And by the way, Lenore Sellers is catching the eyes of everybody right now. Everybody.
Yeah, that's a fact.
He's a complete phenom. He is. I argued with Brandon Walker. I said, who is head and shoulders above South Carolina? He didn't even name those teams. And I said, who is so much head and shoulders better than Lenore Sellers? Who else would you want? And he said Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers was out 2.5 games. Lenore Sellers was out a game and a half. Their stats are damn near identical. Damn near. But who would you put in a clutch situation to go win you the game? And that's objectively. It's Lenore Sellers. If Lenore Sellers wasn't the quarterback when we played Clemson, we wouldn't have won that game.
Yeah,
correct.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
So you want eyes, one of the another point of contention I had with him, one of the best players in the country right now, one of the most exciting players you should put on television right now is Lenore Sellers.
Yeah.
And it's not just us blowing hot air. Josh Pate is here with us. On 3 is here with us. Like, it's not just that. Like, everyone is saying, it seems like the national media said South Carolina should be in the playoff. We would all love to see that, and the playoff committee just blew their nose and let it go. Like, that is it. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, you even got guys like Skip Bayless out there that have absolutely nothing to do with the University of South Carolina talking about it. You know, it's gotten to this point, and like, you know, as you guys talked about, you know, with my brand, I'm on TikTok and all these different platforms, right? In TikTok, I see these, you know, different creators and whatnot that talk college football and their level, and they talk about South Carolina getting hosed and not being able to go to the playoffs. I mean, it's not just us. And, you know, Zach, you brought up a great point about Lenore Sellers. I mean, who would you take, Lenore or Quinn? And Lenore Sellers, just these last couple of weeks, have 2 game-winning drives.
Yep.
With Missouri and Clemson.
Yep. I mean, and the things he's done, Dabo Sweeney even said it. He goes, you look back at the tape, he's not just doing that to us. You expected him to do it, and then when he does it, it's like a different animal. He's doing it to you, your guys. And he gets out of those things, runs 30 yards down the field, if not getting a touchdown, if not more. The one he ran against LSU took it, 50 yards plus down on the field on them? And not to mention the playoff committee not taking into accountability that, one, we got hosed. SEC officiating hosed us on that LSU game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's objectively true. Our boy from Irmo, Eamon Wari, took it to the house. Should not have had that. It's just the most ridiculous things came in the way that they would have given Alabama credit for, Oregon credit for, Ohio State, Michigan, you name them. The Blue Bloods, they would have been like, yeah, let's take that into it because we have to squeak them in. South Carolina, they're like, no, we're just going to look at head-to-head and be done with it. That's all they did.
Yeah. Yeah, and when they did that, it just felt to that point where we were truly never considered, right? When South Carolina, when they first entered the ranking, it was there, and like, all right, people are talking about it. But you beat a ranked opponent in their own house. I don't care how you cut it, but when they're literally just out the top 10 and you jump one spot, I'm sorry, but we're not going over the body of work here. We're going over a brand. I don't care what anybody's got to say. I mean, you can't make an argument about it, or you just go back to head to head. But then again, you just saw South Carolina, but Oklahoma get blown out by, they blew out Alabama. Like, what are we doing? Like, look, when you talk about college basketball, right? College basketball, you can't have certain losses, right? Or you're out.
Right.
Your quad.
You have
quad
ones. Quad 1s, quad 2s that keeps you in, quad 3s, quad 4s takes you out. What a lost Oklahoma, if we're talking like a college basketball world, that'd been a quad 4 loss. Mm-hmm. And somehow you're still considered to get into the postseason? I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. I'm not with it. I'm sorry. I'm just not.
Yeah, but it's just going to show you that they don't have that impactful loss into anything of their consideration.
Yeah.
And 2, I think, and tell me if you agree with this, 12's not enough at the end of the day.
Absolutely not. No.
It's not enough.
No, and the expansion is going to get to 16 probably by 2026. Maybe something like that. We'll see what happens. But a lot of things have to happen this offseason after this is all done, after college football is over with. For one, you got to take a look at the committee because it's not just South Carolina that is upset at the committee right now. There's a couple other teams. Miami's one of them.
Lane Kiffin in particular.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are upset, quite frankly, at the committee. And there's some other names out there, too, that are sitting outside the top 15 that may have a case in some kind of way, right? And then also, one of the biggest questions that needs to be answered is that we need to find a way to stop making these officials part-time. It needs to be a full-time gig. These people cannot be having, like, for example, Jason Autry is a director down in Florida for some kind of service down there in Florida. He is a director. He has a 9-to-5 Monday through Friday. He is a director for a county.
Right.
Why is he the head official for SEC football? He shouldn't be there. If he wants to do this, he goes to G5 or you go to a smaller conference. But the SEC, where millions of dollars are laid out on the line, by the way, and we got some guy that has a 9-to-5 director job and he just does this for fun. Makes a little extra on the side. That's what this is. Then he doesn't need to be doing it.
Yeah, it's not rec ball. It's not high school anymore. This is you're literally costing universities that you screw with bad calls millions of dollars, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. And you got to have a dedicated source of judgment, let's call it, laying down to call these games. And you're getting dudes who are, just like you said, it's this is my fun time. I'm a weekend warrior. I come out and do this stuff. The one team that I think they would never have been a conversation, maybe if you expanded it, that I find interesting coming up for next year is Georgia Tech. I think that'll be very fun. I felt so bad for Haynes King after 8 overtimes.
6 hours of football.
Yeah. But that's a team, like, watching them beat Miami, that game was amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah. Amazing. That's
yeah.
Look at all these outlier teams. Like, I think that's why you need more playoff. Even 12 is just not enough. And I think the gripes we're having about it is they're so different than even 4. Because 4 was just, we have a playoff to say we have it, right? 12 is making legitimate arguments about ridiculousness about these dudes sitting in a room. But if you expand it to 16 and you get those usurpers just in there to wreck your number 3s, your number 4s, and just blow them out, it'll be amazing.
Well, then you literally have no excuse. There's no way you don't get a legitimate pool of contestants. You know, you don't have a legitimate pool of teams to allow them just to beat it out. Just
right.
You know. So, yeah, that Georgia Tech game, I lasted until the second overtime. The third overtime was just about starting before I finally succumbed to my toxins and fell asleep. You know, and it was amazing. You know, I've got plenty of friends that went to Georgia, and you know, they rubbed it in Sunday morning or Saturday morning. It was a lot of text messages. Hey, did you see that game? Did you see the way it ended? It's like, yeah, in a safety. So congratulations, Georgia won on a safety. But it was just a beat down game. And I told him, look, I said, I'll give kudos to Georgia because, you know, if you give Georgia enough time to wear you down, that's what happens. I mean, they basically backed Tech into the corner and they won on a safety, and Georgia Tech just didn't have the energy to come back. It was a fantastic game. And I'm disappointed for the loss, but Georgia Tech loses to Georgia almost every single season. So, you know, I fully
enjoyed Georgia getting such a difficult schedule and then getting the surprises like Georgia Tech. You're like, like, it's like, you deserve it, because there's so many times that we were playing Alabama and LSU and they're just like, yes, basically we got Mississippi State and a really down Auburn going for us.
I don't know.
I'm still deciding myself about not playing Tennessee and Florida, because those would have been, I think, 2 dubs we could have picked up maybe.
Yeah.
A little sour. Even Georgia, I think if we got caught Georgia on the full, like, Sellers found his stride, I think Georgia would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, Alabama beat them, and we saw what we almost did, tripping over our own tails, basically. So, I don't know.
So, Zach, for our audience, one of the reasons we want to have you on was because, you know, obviously playoff season for football, we're into basketball season, soccer, and softball is going to be kicking in, and you are so ingrained into everything that goes on with South Carolina sports. But I don't want to overlook what Famously Garnet is and what it represents.
Sure.
Can you give us just what is it that inspired you to start Famously Garnet? What was it about South Carolina sports that was like, I'm going to try and build this brand?
Yeah, so it was back in 2017. Friends of ours, we just created a brand called Visor Sports, and we had success with it, right? It was something that was okay, but a lot of people, they just were kind of turned off by the fact of the matter is Visor. They think of Spurrier, and a lot of people are still upset about Spurrier, honestly. And so it wasn't really me that had the ownership of the brand. It was somebody else that had it. And there's a lot of things that we did. We broke a lot of big news. We broke the Zach Pickens news when Zach Pickens was a 5-star defensive end that committed to South Carolina. Defensive lineman that committed to South Carolina. We broke that at his high school, T.L. Hanna. There's things that we did with that. We broke news about Jordan Birch committing to South Carolina as well. I mean, there's other things that we've done, coaches leaving, that kind of thing. And it just got to a point where I didn't see that traction was there. And I'm like, it's not where it should be, And then again, Zach, I didn't have the full control over this thing, right? And so I took a moment, I stepped back, I said, is this really where I wanted to, for it to go when I don't have this kind of control on it? So I let go of it, and I'm like, I'm going to start my own thing. And lo and behold, I mean, for me, I've done a lot of social networking over the years, and in that time, I've made a lot of relationships and met a lot of people out of it. And one thing just leads to another, and here's what it comes down to, why Famously Garnet, why the success that I've had. And it's got nothing special to do with me. It's just the fact of the matter is, if you give people the God honest truth about what's going on with the program, and you're not going after clickbait, you're not causing problems or anything like that, and you are a friend of the university per se, like coaches, they know who I am. Like there's coaches that they'll text me if there's things that they need with a recruit. They'll text me, hey, get this hyped up, or thing of that nature. I mean, it's been a little, a long ride already in the last few years, but the fact of the matter is there are other entities out there that cover South Carolina that just have never gotten off the same kind of success, because they look for more clickbait and engagements and things like that, and just lie for no reason. And and Zach over there, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. We've had some shadows, quite frankly, that I would call him a shadow that covered South Carolina that people did not like.
Yeah.
And
great A asshole.
Yeah. And now that that's not here anymore, it's open to my growth as well. I mean, a lot more people are tuned in. Since I think NIL helps with that as well, being able to get with the players and get to interview them. Because before, with NCAA involved, you couldn't really interview anybody unless you were like full media with the University of South Carolina. And so that has also opened it up. But the biggest thing, man, is just it's networking and being, yourself. Like, don't come out there and, any of the nonsense. Because like I said, I mean, people have done it and they failed, and they failed miserably. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's what's got a lot to do with it. But it's just my love and passion for South Carolina. I want us to be successful in every aspect. I do a lot of stuff with NIL. I do a lot of things in the background that a lot of people don't know about. I mean, there's things that go behind the scenes that, quite frankly, nobody knows about. It's just me helping the athletes or helping do something.
Well, you talk about the passion of being part of the university and whatnot. Being a fan of South Carolina Gamecocks, do you find it difficult to find and maintain that objectivity with the platform?
Oh yeah, no doubt. The end of the day, there are times that people are going to be upset with you because you have to give them the truth. If somebody's not performing, you give them the truth. Like, for example, Mark Kingston.
Brandon Walker.
You
Brandon,
got
put the ball gag back. Put the ball gag back in. Yeah, Zach's talking about you. Yeah.
But, he would sink as low to be in your frog with a ball gag on too.
Oh my god,
that's great. You're saying Mark Kingston?
yeah. We know he wasn't a good coach, man. And you talk to the players that are surrounding the baseball program and kind of talk more about it, and you truly, really find out how big of a doiker this guy is. I mean, he was a pain in the ass. Didn't care about the players to that extent, like Ray Tanner did, right, with his guys. On Saturdays, for example, during the football season, he would have the guys out there working out and training and everything else. Paul Maneri, on the other hand, takes over University of South Carolina baseball coach. He's letting these guys enjoy their Saturdays, go to football games, be a student.
Yeah,
things like behind the scenes have been fantastic. Just watching him, just watching him talk to us, making jokes. Like he was telling, who was it? I think it was Roman Kimball. He's like, "What, you got your sunglasses on? There's what do you got those out here for?" And he's like, "Well, you got yours on too." And he goes, so I do. And he just like walks around. Just the foolish stuff he does. He seems like an awesome coach to play for.
Yeah. He's very Ray Tanner-esque. He has those vibes about him. I've had a couple meetings with Coach Maneri, and he's a genuine guy. And when Ethan Petrie, we talk a lot. Ethan Petrie and I, we talk a lot. And the thing about it, he's like, Coach, let's just be guys. Let's just be students, college students. Let's just enjoy. where it seemed like it was more like ran like a business when Coach Kingston was here. They didn't let him, let those kids play. It's kind of like with Will Muschamp, the same thing. I have friends that played for Will Muschamp, and they'll tell you, yeah, he was straight business, NFL basically, straight business guy. Didn't care about those guys having fun. If it's your birthday, it's just another day in the year. The whole thing with Thanksgiving, right? He had to think about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a meal, not a day. Coach Beamer, on the other hand,
that was so. I hated that. And the best way I put it, it was for Muschamp. It was a stop along the way. He at no point had any heart or gave a shit about setting any records or anything like giving. He just didn't. This was a stop. And you do with Shane Beamer, the literal culture he brought here. He had a culture war with Stoops at Kentucky for 2 seconds. And literally the culture blew Kentucky to the plummeting depths that there are right now. I mean, watching Kentucky fans think they were going to, 1, beat us, 2, badly, and watching them get just run out of the house was fantastic. Couldn't happen to a better program. But it takes that buy-in, that brotherly love, one unit. Beamer was talking today about having 3 sets of brothers on the team. And he goes, what other kind of universities breed the kind of love and brotherhood that a parent is not only sending one kid to, that they see how much fun their kid is having, how successful they're being as a student athlete, that they're like, the other one has to go. Like, all about it. Please, if that's what you want to do, go join your brother. And I was like, that's absolutely right. You have just this camaraderie with this team.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things that I've seen come out of South Carolina, like the last year or so, is some of those social media posts where Beamer will walk onto the field and during practice, and he'll have the whole team pull around, or the whole offense or the whole defense and whatnot, and he'll start shining on somebody with accolades from the last 3 or 4 games, and then at the end of it, he's like, "And guess what? You're going here for free now," and like it gives me chills every single time because. With NIL and everything like that, there's money available for things like that fall outside of the scope. But like, it is such a cool thing because and I will say this, and Zach knows, Beamer was not it for me. And I'm not a huge Carolina Gamecock fan. I'm a Georgia Tech fan, but like that's the home team, so I definitely root for them. But like, I wasn't all in on Beamer two seasons ago because it just didn't seem like there was the discipline. It didn't seem like the players recognized him as being the guy that was going to crack down on when they made the mistakes. I mean, we had guys walking into running into the end zone, dropping the ball before they crossed the line. And
sure.
And I see those things, and it's like, Beamer's he's got to come down on that. He's got to work with them to better the discipline. But this year, completely different turnaround. I mean, this is a team, when you watch them play, they're playing with so much heart that I just didn't see before.
I think you get a lot too. I'm with you, Barrett, when it came to like, listen, I don't want that lovey-dovey shit. That kind of thing. I bought into it when Shane came, but Shane can be cold too when it comes down to it. He spoke today. He had players that they were trying to recruit, and until they got on the 6-win kick, they were calling him back. He goes, "Oh, you didn't want me back then, so no, you're not going to have me now."
Yep.
And you need that. So you know that he's cold. When players elected to go to other schools and then said, "Can I come back?" and the way they left wasn't copacetic for his program, he absolutely not. So he's picking these guys that are bought in, which it stands for something. It's like almost an intangible thing that someone like Coach Beamer has to be the one to figure out. And I think it's clearly working.
Yeah,
it's working.
Absolutely. Zach, I want to ask you what's been your favorite moment up until now with this whole Famously Garnet, just this journey that you're on.
Honestly, there's a couple of things I would say. The first one, when I was invited to cover the Manchester United Liverpool game,
that was rad.
I was blown away. Honestly, like I when I got the email, dude, I dropped my phone, like started tearing up. I'm like, no way, this is real. Like this can't be real. And then like I looked at it again, And it said, and I was like, no way, man. Like this,
Man.
yeah, like insane. And so that right there got me real good. Because as most of y'all know, I mean, I cover the men's soccer program. I'm the only person to ever do that. That I know of, the outside entity. The only ones that cover the University of South Carolina soccer program are students, basically, for the university. And then general, you'll have maybe John Whittle out there from 247 occasionally out there or something like that, but nobody there every game. And I made a promise to Tony Annan, or Coach Tony Annan, and I said, look, man, I said, I want you guys, because he just got to South Carolina, basically, just got to the university at the time. And I was like, look, man, I said, I have a platform. And I think it'll be good for you guys. Like, I think I can help get you some, views and some engagements and let people see the true, meaning behind your program. And he took me out. He took me out on it. Like, he said, yeah, come on. And so it was funny. I get there, and the first day, I get up there in the press box, and the SID looks at me and said, who are you? I said, oh, I'm Zack with the Famously Garnet. He said, oh. He said, I wasn't – I didn't know you were coming. And I was like, okay. And then after that, obviously, that all changed. But it was the funniest thing when you saw me just walk in the press box. I didn't know who the heck I was. Acting like I owned the place, honestly.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I bet I love Tony Annan for one, but he probably went up there. He's like, you let Zach in there right now.
Basically, that's a good impression. But yeah, basically so. But no, it's been great, man. Covering the program, learning the guys. I mean, the transfer portal's been big in soccer as well. It's something a lot of people don't talk about. And the immigration laws under the recent times have been tough. So getting a lot of guys from University of South Carolina, the NCAA, and the immigration policy has come in effect. So we haven't been able to get the guys on campus like we'd want. So that's been a bit of a pain the last couple seasons. Hopefully, things get panned out over the next few years as time progresses. Maybe the NCAA gets it together. I don't know whose ball where the ball drops on that. I don't know what side it falls on. But it
better
does make
figure it out.
Right. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you better figure it out because it makes it tough. I mean, you got your coach out there recruiting these guys, bringing them in from different countries, and all of a sudden you can't get somebody here. The NCAA doesn't clear them. I mean, South Carolina right now has a clearing issue right now with the basketball program with Federico having that issue, trying to get him on. So they're dealing with that. And then, but back to the topic, man. One of the biggest rewarding things too is when fans come up to you like at games and things like that. They're like, "Oh, you're Famously Garnet. Appreciate everything you do, your content and all that." And I'm not in it for myself, but when I hear that people actually enjoy it, that means something to me. You know what I mean? It makes all right. So you're actually seeing it. You're enjoying the stuff I'm putting out. That means something to me. I'm glad that I could give you entertainment, honestly, or provide you with entertainment.
Brother, I have to tell you, like, it is full blown. When you first started your first one with Visor Sports, I was like, it's good. When you went full Famously Garnet, I had a taste of what to expect from you, and you went above and beyond. Like, there's so many Gamecock Twitter sites out there. There's so many Gamecock media sites. Yours is going to give you a fact. If you're wrong, you'll say you were wrong. You have the inside information for it. Mm-hmm. Everything has been backed up. It is legitimately the top Gamecock fan site you're going to find. I mean, it proves itself. You have Justin King following you, Steven Garcia, Wes Mitchell. Like, sure. you have names in the biz that are watching what you're doing at the same time. I mean, hell, do you have coaches I don't even know about following? I looked at the list for a minute. So it's people are watching what you're doing, and it's paying off. Even when you got the invite to the Senior Bowl, the Reese's Senior Bowl, didn't Spencer Rattler play in that one?
He did.
So you got some questions in with him, right? I do believe I remember seeing that. You're there, dude. You're doing it. Keep moving. Keep pushing. It's amazing to see. I've known you now for it's getting close to 20 years.
I know.
I'm going to go lay down. Man. I'll see you guys later. It's been a minute. But just watching you grow and watching your platform move how it does, and the content you put out is amazing. It's truly.
Zach, how does the Welcome Home podcast complement Famously Garnet?
Yeah, so Welcome Home podcast, there's a story behind that. So my co-host Q, and then the founder of it, his name is Sin. We call him Sin as a nickname. Big Cindarius Thornwell fan, and but Q, he basically grew up with me before I got to Chapin. So I born originally from Chapin. At that point, that's who I claim Didn't get into shape in about the 4th grade year of elementary school. But before then, I was between Irmo and Dutch Fork. And at the time I was at Dutch Fork, I was playing rec ball down there out in Harbison, where Harbison used to have rec fields and all that. They don't have it anymore. But they used to have a lot of rec fields down there. We used to play recreation ball, Little League, and things like that. And we just put 2 and 2 together one day, man. We were all just like talking in a group chat on Twitter, like, we just started talking. It's like, yeah, I used to play, rec ball over here. Yeah, where at? And then you tell him, oh, wait a minute. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, you played for Johnson Control? I mean, yeah. He's like, I did too. And so you're like, whoa. And then you look at and then he had the picture. And then there we are in this damn team pick. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, we played ball together. Like, that's insane. And so
small world.
I'm telling you, dude. So that happened. And so Sin was over. He was the host of the Welcome Home podcast for a while. And he got tired of it. And so I was like, well, I'll take over, man. I've got a vision. We can make this thing bigger. And so we're doing it like this. We're doing live shows. We're averaging a couple hundred people on Twitter an episode, a few hundred people on Facebook Live an episode. It just depends. And then we just recently started doing TikTok where we'll go live. We can't do it like the format that y'all are doing it, but we do like a kind of like I'm live, and then I'll have him as a guest, basically. Yeah. And so he'll be there in the background, so we can have that conversation like normal. They just can't see him on camera because they don't have X amount of followers. But it's been great, man. We compliment each other. Q and I. He's got intel as much as I do. He knows people in the program like I do. And at the end of the day, it's just relationships that we build. And man, like the players, the families, like the players' families, like Lenore Seller's dad, Norris, he loves us, man. Like he came up to me.
Awesome.
We met up after the A&M game, like after we beat A&M, and we just started talking. I'm like, I went up to him, I was like, man, I was about to damn start tearing up when I went up to him. Like, man, I said, that came from Lenore tonight. I said, that's the growth we're talking about. That's the development. And he's like, that's it. He's like, that is all it ever needed to be. I'm like, I told fans this. He's like, I know. He's like, I called the last episode. So I'm like, so it's awesome, man. It truly is. It truly is. And to be able to turn this into a much more positive situation to where it used to be with this program and the entities that would follow and cover it, it's a blessing, honestly. And I'm hey, man, that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
It really is. It's such a cool journey. And, the fact that, because you still have a day job though, correct?
Sure. I do.
All of what I see publishing on Facebook and X and everything, like, the fact that you have the ability to do that and have a family and, a regular job is just,
Zach, are you a vampire? Do you not sleep?
I mean, there are times. I mean, I might be editing till the AM-ish hours of the morning. It's one of those things. It's getting tougher though. I'm not gonna lie. It's been real tough, and holding a job in the corporate world, right, and then doing this on the side, it kind of takes you out of it. You're like, you do your job in the corporate world, right, and then you do this on the side to get you out of it. But it's also at the same time, it's like I really want to be doing the Famously Garnet thing full time and just get out of the corporate world in general, because it's all about following the American dream, right? Following the thing that you want to do in life.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you love what you do, you never work in a day in your life, right? So it's like
that's what they say,
brother.
Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah.
Let me put this little bee in your bonnet. If South Carolina or Welcome Home podcast does not use Cody and Cambria's Welcome Home that we all know from Guitar Hero, at some point, I'm going to lose it. Like, it's just so apropos for the entire thing, and that song hits so hard.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows. Like, maybe one day we run out to the field on that after 2001 plays. I don't know. Maybe some Welcome Home. Ever since Welcome Home was like the moniker for everything, for all the commits and stuff, I was just watching. I was like, at some point, this song is going to play and they're going to vibe. It's going to be amazing. It's never happened. So I'm throwing that task to you. It has to happen. I got to hear it one day. So
I'll see if I can get Justin King's ear about it. See what he has to say.
He follows you, so I'm sure. Just let him know.
I'm trying to find the picture I took with Lenore Sellers at the Fireflies game earlier this year.
He finally had to look at Barrett and said, "If you leave me alone, I'll take a picture."
Look. He was a gentleman. I joked about him wearing glasses, and then how long did he go into the season before he started wearing contacts? What, the second game?
Yeah.
But that's because people kept going, "I don't think you can see." I was like, "I'm pretty sure he's been wearing those glasses a lot longer than you have." So I don't know.
Yeah.
He could see. He was fine, but the contacts, I think they probably helped. So, let me ask you this. College, how do you see the future of college sports media coverage evolving, and how does Famously Garnet fit into that plan as far as how are you going to adapt?
Yeah, so I think as time progresses, NIL is going to become a much more steeper thing. These players could get a big, get a big head in their mind, thinking that their value is worth more than what it could be. And essentially, the thing about it's got to come down to, if that happens, is it, what is their cost going to be, right? Because some of the guys we did absolutely pay to get on the show, and as we should have. I mean, it's paid for their time. It's going to them. It's part of the Garnet Trust. I mean, why not? Why not? So, kind of looking at that, it depends, right? I will say this: the way it cannot try to get off too topic here, but the Garnet Trust and NIL for South Carolina is becoming bigger and bigger by the day. So. We're seeing a lot more donations come through, a lot more people joining the Garnet Trust, and this has got to do with the success for one that South Carolina's having on the field, and it's also got to do with what we can put out there. And as a platform, as somebody from South Carolina, if I can get out there and tell people to donate towards NIL and they listen, which, by the way, I went on a tangent the other day in an episode, and apparently I got 10 people to sign up just like that. Don't know what it took. Don't know what they're putting in it. I don't care, but apparently it works. So, but kind of looking at that, really, man, is coming down to NIL, and I think it just gets easier, man. I think it just gets easier to really get in there with the program. As far as on my side of things, because the way things are right now, I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have to answer to the SID of their football program or basketball, baseball. I can have my conversations as freely as I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's really about it for that.
As a Gamecock fan, what's your earliest memory of being a Gamecock fan? Like, what's the first thing that you can remember that I guess is that memory that like set the stone that this was concrete now?
Yeah, I think, man. So there's a couple of things, man. We're going to the early football games with my dad and whatnot, but. The seasons of the 06-05 years was Sidney Rice and guys like that, watching them play. That did a lot for me. Really fell in love with the sport, though, in college football in general at the University of South Carolina in the 06-07 years. I didn't really – back when I was younger, I didn't know if I was going to go to that full sport route because I liked I liked skateboarding back then. I liked the old Pokemon card route, you know what I mean, video games. I was into everything. But it just got to me sports at the end of the day in high school. It really opened up. And I just, as Zach could tell you, man, Chapin was really big with sports. I mean, the NCAA tournament came around. They'd have all the TVs in the library on, have the different games.
Yeah,
like that was
sure.
love. Like there's schools would do that,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that had a part of it, man. My freshman year, the new assistant principal, who's now a doctor, now is Dr. Ross. He played University at Duke. He played football for me as a linebacker.
He was a Dookie. And I remember him bragging about being in one of the NCAA games. He was like, "Hey, you play him? That's me."
Yeah. So, man, the high school years, man, is what I really fell in love with it. And we traveled, man. We did a lot of traveling for the university. College World Series of 2011,
We got to do the drill on the high school field a couple times.
Oh yeah,
we were ROTC buddies.
We were, man. Those were the days, man. Those were the days. I got freaking decleated. Well, de-shoed. I would say decleated. I got de-shoed in one of those flag football games we were playing one time.
I'll tell you what. I still keep Master Chiefs or Senior Chiefs squared away, dude. I say squared away for everything.
Squared away, dude.
That man has ingrained that in me. Clear crystal.
My gosh.
Squared away. Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Senior Chief. What a guy.
Are there any Gamecock players history, dead, alive, whatever. Is there a player out there that you haven't gotten to interview yet that you wish you could or you wish you could have?
So there's a couple that are actually in the pipeline actually right now.
Oh, okay.
One of them is Connor Shaw. Connor Shaw, actually the creator of this brand right here, GC Supply, the hat I'm wearing right now.
Love their stuff.
It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. He's on the pipeline right now. He's gonna come on the show eventually. We've talked about it in person about coming on the show. Wanted more than not just him, but also want to get his business partner Dustin to talk about their brand, not just about Connor Shaw and his football and things like that. And then there's professionals that are playing out right now, like Alshon Jeffrey. He's not playing in the league anymore. I'd like to get Alshon on. Xavier Leggett. I would love to get Leggett on because I think his accent would throw everybody through a true loop because that's who he is. He's not putting on a show.
Come on, man. I'm on a podcast right now, man. Come on now. Dude.
That's
I
him.
love it, dude.
That is him, dude. Where was that? The Senior Bowl. He comes on me. He says, "Is that man? Yeah, you flew out there. You flew all the way in over there." I was like, I did fly out here. He's like, he made that love, man. That's a real love.
They had him, and I know you saw it because Zach's also a Panthers fan. They had him interviewed with that turkey hat on. He goes, What are you eating for Thanksgiving? He goes, "Man, my cousin done called me up. They got that coon fried up. I'm looking forward to that coon." And I'm like, Southern as he gets, dude. Like, he's not playing. He's talking about eating a raccoon. Like, that is it.
That's
While wearing
South
a turkey
Carolina.
hat,
Mole in South Carolina, man. That's
my
it.
horse, Dollar Bill.
Oh, that's great.
Like, even when he was interviewed at South Carolina, every time if I'm watching an interview after a game, it's Xavier Leggett just to hear what the hell he has to say.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, between him and Bryce Young, and the Panthers, I did not have any fear of beating the Panthers twice this season, but I seeing them play the past few games, several weeks. I mean, Carolina looks like they're making I mean, they're not going to make it to the playoffs, but they're making a run to make sure that
they're going to piss some people off at some point this year.
Yeah.
As long as you keep putting Adam Thielen on that stretch rack so he can go make these ridiculous end zone catches.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. Do what you're going to do because you're doing a little bit better than we expected. Not as good as we want, but it's just it's been so hard. It's been so hard.
Zach, do you have any game day rituals that you go through before a South Carolina game?
So I try to go to Gamecock Walk every time they do Gamecock Walk for the when the players and coaches come by, just out of respect to them. But what I also like to try to do is get down to Bernie's on game day. I like try to get down to Bernie's and get the special if I can. If I can't, I'm disappointed. But last time I was at Bernie's was the A&M game, and we saw that game went. And then previous to that, it was what game was it? I think it was Kentucky. It was Kentucky last year when Darude came to town and played Sandstorm. So
that was cool.
Yeah. Oh, that was a moment. And I met Darude after the game, and I tell you what, that guy is so cool, so nice, super nice guy. Super nice guy.
People listening, if you don't know, Bernie's is the best fried chicken in Columbia.
Preach.
So
it is. The only person that's even going to come close to rivaling it is White Rock Quickway.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
White Rock Quickway. It's pretty close, but that's not in Columbia. That's in White Rock.
I have a fun ritual for game day. I did it one time with old Shane Beamer right here. We have a mezzanine in my house that looks over
Zach,
my
not approved. I can't let that one go out.
It looks over my living room where we watch the game and stuff. I always stick Shane right there, like as if he's just looking down, and it scares the shit out of my wife. She'll walk in and be like, "What the?" Like, think someone's staring at her. I'm like, he's here for the game. Like, he's just. We won the first one. I did it. Now I'm not going to stop. So my baseball side comes through heavily. I'm like, no, we have to.
Zach, that does feel disturbing. Like at some point, poor Shane's going to become so worn out, his head's just going to be bent over.
It's like flop.
He's like 3 years old now. He's steady, and they have another one at the same gas station, and I can get it if anybody wants it.
Is it the exact same thing?
Exactly the same. Yeah.
That's hilarious. All right. Well, okay. So speaking of Shane Beamer, and I know we've all pretty much diagnosed ourselves as fans. What are your thoughts on Shane Beamer's leadership and direction up with the football program up to this point?
Yeah, I mean, Shane's been fantastic. I had my moments in my reserves before when he first got with the program. And the former players, they really fought for him. They wanted him to play at to become coach of South Carolina really bad. And I mean, Barrett, you already hit on one thing too about discipline, and I was right there. I'm like, I mean, he's still younger. He hasn't truly had this experience as a head coach yet, so I didn't know how it was going to go. And being around these different players, interviewing and talking to them, they really let you know who Shane is as a person. And like, for example, with Lenoris, we had Lenoris Sellers on earlier in the season, him, Jalen Kilgore, Debo Williams, guys like that. And they were talking about what it's like to be with Coach and will he bring the hammer down? And he absolutely will. He'll bring the hammer down. He'll let you know. I mean, he'll put people out on the spot. He'll call you out. But the way Shane has done things at University of South Carolina and the mess that he had to clean up, honestly, before he got here. I mean, my goodness, the problems that Will Muschamp created, not only at the University of South Carolina, not only in Columbia, but South Carolina, but the whole state of South Carolina, was an absolute mess. I mean, these high schools wanted nothing to do with this university at all. None. And that includes donors. He had to go to apologize to donors because of what happened. I mean, it was an absolute travesty, the things that happened before Shane got here. So fast forward to all of that. He's cleaned up all these messes. He's got all these fans in his corner now that he's winning games. I mean, it took him, for him to win games for fans to get on his side. But it's a whole thing with this team. This team was so young coming into the season. Granted, they had a lot of guys on defense return, came back. You had Kyle Kennard, who you added. Sorry, Barrett, but you brought in Kyle Kennard from Georgia Tech, right? You brought in DeAndre Jules, right, from Georgia Tech. And then you got Demetrius Knight from Charlotte. But you brought all these guys in to fill in these spots, these voids on defense. And then you had a quarterback, Lenore Sellers, redshirt freshman. Only playing time was against Furman in a snap against Vanderbilt. You didn't have anything else behind that. You had no true wide receivers. You had no offense, essentially. You brought in a Rocket Sanders from Arkansas, which, by the way, he's been injured the last 2 seasons to come in. So you really didn't know what you had. But you let Shane work with these guys. You let Shane coach these guys. You let him grow. You let them all grow together. And now you just had a 93 season. Guys, you had me on last season, and we talked about what my expectations were then. And I surely thought we were an 8-9 win team. Did I not? Maybe 10 wins? I had
we both shot a little over on that one. Yeah.
Were we talking about last year or this year? Because last year I think I pegged it. What did I have? 5 wins?
It was last year. Yeah.
It was last year.
You asshole, you nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. You did. But here's the thing, like, that wouldn't have happened if all these injuries on the offensive line didn't happen.
Sure.
And so a lot of people didn't take that into account coming into the season. They're like, South Carolina's going to have another 5-win season. They're not, Shane Beamer's only going to be on the hot seat. He might get fired, that kind of thing. But if you truly look at this program and truly paid attention and knew the health of where they were going to be, the depth that they were going to have on this program, it all starts with the head guy, Shane Beamer. It all starts there. And by God, you went into the portal. You took care of business. You went into you recruiting. You brought in Dylan Stewart, the best edge. I mean, not the best edge player, but the best freshman this season.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
right?
He's going to win that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got all these factors at the University of South Carolina. It all starts with the head guy up front, man. It's Shane Beamer. And like I said, he's done a fantastic job, and it's not going to stop. It's something that's going to continue. He's going to continue the success. He's only had 1 losing season at South Carolina. He surpassed Steve Spurrier in 4 years in wins.
Yep.
That's massive.
The
massive.
The quickest to 29 wins.
Yes.
I mean, that is huge. And I not that I'm going to just knock on Clemson, but
sure.
Shane Beamer is the coach that I think Clemson would have liked to have had instead of the cheerleader that they got.
Right.
So before
even his analysts that he brings in, though, Mike Shula and stuff, like, you're just like, these are pretty big names just to come analyze some ball.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's wild.
I'll ask you both this. Over under is 3 years. How long before Dabo is no longer at Clemson? Over 3 years, under 3 years.
That man is so coveted by so many up in Pickens A&M.
Yeah, but Clemson is such a wreck of up and down emotions when it comes to their coaches.
I don't know, Barrett. They're playing for the ACC championship right now.
Blah blah blah. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think most rational people see that for the joke that it is.
Yeah.
I think it honestly comes down to what happens on Saturday. If Clemson gets ousted, right, they don't go to the playoffs, I think that's going to put more heat on Dabo. I think it's going to put more heat on Dabo, and I think it ultimately comes down to the transfer portal next season. If he doesn't use that portal, he's going to be out in 3 years or less. It's going to happen because you're not evolving with the game. It's going to get to a point, it's stale. The board's going to make a move. It's going to happen. The AD is going to have to make a move on that.
What is his argument against it?
So, way I was told, or way I read, Zach, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but he said, why bring in these guys from the portal when I can recruit basically who I want and kind of do it from there? So, which is
exactly.
It's a very close-minded way of handling the whole situation because
I've also heard that he didn't handle people transferring from his program very well either.
He didn't. And it's a very closed-mind way of thinking, and also the same fact. It's like, so you're telling me, okay, a Kyle Kennard or somebody like that, or Rocket Sanders could have helped your program this season. Like Clemson can't truly tell me that having somebody like that could have helped them. Like an inexperienced defensive line could have brought in a guy like Kyle Kennard, had the other side eat while Kyle Kennard was, giving pressure, or vice versa. But you can't tell me that if you're not bringing in people into, popping in these different positions to help out, it's gonna change things. I mean, like, if you don't do it, then what are you doing? Like, you're not doing yourself a service. Like, this game has changed. It has evolved. Yeah. So you want your freshmen to go against juniors and seniors from the transfer portal? Come on, man. That's just a dumb way of thinking. Like, experience over. Yeah. Come on, man.
That's a very he's so old school mentality that he's trying to just keep it purely recruits when everyone else is. You have that Model T when everyone else is passing you in a Tesla. Like, for the most, like, it's just, don't keep up. You will suffocate and die. I think the 3-year mark is a perfect. I think it could be one more year of just mediocrity. People are going to get pissed, and then that second year they're going to be fire. Do it or don't.
It's all it took for Tommy Bowden.
Yeah,
I mean, they were only into. I guess they were only really into one bad season, and it was, they cut off his head. I mean, just brutal.
TikTok just told me inactivity detected. I'm live. Do I have to touch my computer?
I don't know. Maybe.
Let me move it.
So the last question I want to ask you, Zach, before we move on to 7 questions, because you haven't gotten a chance to do these yet.
Oh, man.
What's your perspective on this, on the whole conference realignment for the SEC?
I mean, look, I'm not a fan of bringing Texas and Oklahoma in. I wish they stayed in the Big 12, but I think at the end of the day, I think this thing is going to work out like the NFL. I think at some day, I don't know when, but I think it's going to be like NFC, AFC at some point. I think it's going to be cut, and I think the NCAA is going to be obsolete. Honestly, I think it's going to come down to that. But for right now, bring in Texas, bring in Oklahoma, I don't quite understand it. It just doesn't make any sense. Sure, you add more revenue, more money. Okay, I get it, right? That's all it is, essentially. Bring more money to the SEC. Big whoop. But it's going to kill the rivalries, honestly. Like, it's going to kill your out-of-conference rivalry. Like, Clemson, South Carolina may not exist anymore in the next couple of years because of what's going on with this conference realignment. Because if you, for example, you just saw it. South Carolina beat a top 10 or top 15 Clemson team and only moved one spot in the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
So you're telling me if maybe that was a Georgia or Tennessee there instead? I don't know. I don't know, but I think it's going to come down to where things like that's going to happen. I think you're going to see more SEC games for one to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny, but not SMU and Stanford funny. So, like, that's still in Cal. What the fuck is? You're literally the Atlantic Coast Conference, and you're picking up Pacific Coast, Gulf Coast.
I didn't understand. I didn't understand it when the SEC added, Missouri, when we added Missouri, right? I didn't.
At least you can take that southeast and alter it each time. You can just make that swoop of southeast.
Yeah.
If we have to cut it like a line like this down half of it, at least you can make it work. When you got coast in your name, a specific one.
Yeah, it's weird. It's definitely weird. It doesn't make any sense. I feel like we're just pulling names out of a hat at this point and selecting them in different places.
It does.
I think Cal was so funny because if you've ever seen their stadium, half the time it's raining and it's just on the rocks of the ocean. It's like, what is this place? Like, I would hate to be like Cal and Stanford are on your schedule. You're just like, shit, I'll go to Texas, but I'm not going to California.
Oh my God, yeah.
Imagine how basketball has to feel when there's tournaments going on.
Oh yeah.
Good job. I hope you like the jet lag, everyone.
100%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Zach, we really appreciate you being on this week. Make sure to follow Zach on Famously Garnet across all social media because he keeps himself busy for it, and he does it to make sure that we're all well informed. Just all the links are in the show notes, so definitely check that out. I guess we're gonna. You haven't had an opportunity to do this, Zach. We started doing this, I guess, around January last year. What we call it is 7 questions. So we give our guests the same 7 questions to see what sort of answers we get. So the first question is, Zach, what was the last thing you Googled?
The last thing I Googled, let's see, it was rankings to a recruit, actually.
Oh, okay. All right. Rankings to a recruit. Zach, second question. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, one superpower. Give me teleportation.
That's the second time we've had teleportation, isn't it? Because wasn't Zach? You're muted. But did we have? I think Cole. Was it Cole or Lori last week that was like teleportation?
Yeah.
Give me teleportation. All right.
Sorry, I got to hop off, guys. But
all right, Chief.
I don't know who told you, Zach. We're having twins, and she's not feeling good, so I gotta go see what she's up to. Thanks so much for being on, Zach.
Yeah, absolutely. All right,
Man.
Zach. If your life were a movie, what would the title be?
Life were a movie, what would the title be? That's a heck of a question. Let's see. How does he do it?
How does he do it? That's good.
Yeah.
Hey, that's good. That's good. It doesn't give away the plot. That's good.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
All right. Fourth question: if you could eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, steak.
Steak? Just steak.
Steak.
All right. That's a good pick. How do you take your steak?
Oh man, gotta go medium rare, man.
Okay. All right. That's my pick. Because look, here's the thing. I get there are people that don't want to eat their steak medium rare. They're afraid it's not cooked enough, whatever.
Sure.
You get it medium rare, that steak is still cooking on its way to your plate. Like by the time you cut into it, it's almost medium, unless it's done right.
Oh yeah.
All right. Question 5. What is your least favorite candy and why?
Least favorite candy, mint anything.
Anything
like York's, that York peppermint patty. Oh God, why are we mixing chocolate with mint? Like, what are we doing there?
I will say, my son comes home from work sometimes with a box of Junior Mints, and it's like, why did we do this? I'm not a fan either. Mine is black licorice though. I can't tolerate black licorice. All right. Question number 6. What is one strange talent that you have that no one knows? Or that you'd be willing to tell people?
Strange talent. So I can make I could do Stitch's voice.
Can you?
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah, I can.
All right, let's do it.
Ohana means family.
That
family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten.
That is very good. When did you learn you could do that?
Man, I was like, I don't know, like 12 or something. I don't know, man. I'd do it forever.
That is one of my favorite Disney movies is Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
In fact, when we've gone to Disney, one of my favorite things is eating at the place where Lilo and Stitch, the characters will come and mostly because the breakfast is fantastic, but it's you get to interact with the characters. That's really good. So, all right, Zach, final question. If you could have dinner with any three people, dead or alive, who would they be?
If I could have dinner with any three people, dead or alive, who would they be? Let's see. All right, one would have been the late Chadwick Boseman. Loved everything about the guy. Originally from South Carolina, so shout out to him.
Yeah.
Show him love. Trying to think another one. Michael Jordan.
Okay.
I'd like sit down with Michael Jordan. Kind of really get into what he's got going on there. And this one is just 90s kid in me on this one, but Topanga, not obviously the one that played Topanga Lawrence. Danielle Fishel, I think it was her name is.
Yeah,
Topanga. Yeah.
Look, I will not fault you for that. I can absolutely admit I did have a crush on Topanga as well. So
who didn't, honestly?
That's three good choices. First of all, I didn't understand why she was with Corey because he was a huge First of all, you watch the show. He was a jerk.
He was.
He came across as a jerk all the time.
He did.
I never understood that. All right. Well, Zach, good answers to some really dumb questions is what I like to. That's what that was. Zach, I want to thank you again for being on the show with us. And again, even under the strict 1 day notice you pretty much got on this, but we thought there'd be value in having you on after South Carolina beat Clemson and then was denied access to the playoffs. And ultimately, Zach's not here to say it, but I think we both want to continue to see Famously Garnet succeed. We want to see Welcome to the Hometown Podcast, Welcome Home Podcast just continue to succeed because it's really cool to see what you guys are doing. And, I wish we had half of your guests. Maybe we can talk about that at some point.
No doubt. No, I mean y'all keep it up, man, because y'all are at Comic-Con and all these things, man. Like y'all been doing your own thing. Like don't let me have all the spotlight, man. All About Nothing podcast been really growing. So y'all doing your thing.
And what's crazy is we got 3 Comic-Cons we're going to this year. We're going to be Wilmington. We're going to be in Wilmington in March. We're going to be back here in Columbia in August, and then in October we're going to be out in Myrtle Beach.
Sick, man.
It's a lot of work. We enjoyed doing it, and honestly, it's worth it.
Sure.
We still have a crap ton of content from Comic-Con this year where we interviewed a bunch of the guests. Like we got to interview Adrian Hugh from he was in X-Men he was in one of the X-Men movies, but he was also the voice of Nightcrawler. We got to interview the guy that's the voice of Matthew Watterson, who's the voice of Magneto. We got to talk to last year I got to sit down and hang out with Sean Astin for a couple minutes, who is that's Samwise.
You're hanging out with Sean Astin. That's badass, dude. Like that's awesome.
And then this year I got to shake hands with the guy that's the voice of Optimus Prime for 40 years. Like it's really cool.
Did he do the voice?
No, I cannot. Roll out. No, my voice doesn't do that. I don't think his voice does that anymore. He and James Earl Jones are probably in the same realm as far as like Hanna-Barbera or whoever it is that does the Transformers movies probably grabbed his voice and has now created basically the entire artificial voice environment. So James Earl Jones's voice never has to be recorded again. There's a computer system that handles all of it. So, but yeah, no, kudos to you. Everybody make sure to check the show notes to follow Garnet, Famously Garnet on all of the social media. You can find links also to the Welcome Home podcast. Zach, again, thank you very much for being on. I really appreciate it. I'm only going to make you sit through these credits real quick, and then we'll be out of here. So thanks for Zach joining us this week. Please, anybody who's missing him in this last 5 minutes, just understand his wife is having twins, and I know that struggle because we had twins 10 years ago, and it gets better. It does get better, but Zach's in that period of time right now between the late pregnancy or moving from pregnancy into the birth, and it's extremely uncomfortable. So I totally get it. So we'll check in on Zach next week. Yeah, all right, that's going to do it. Thanks for doing it. Thanks for doing it with us again, Zach. This is episode number 233. Links to past episodes, podcast platforms, and merchandise, social media, all of that available at our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com. And if you think our financial model of giving away free content and entertainment is silly, and you're in the giving mood, why not become an official Nothinger? Join us in supporting our show monthly. Members get early access to this episode as well as exclusive content, or you can make a one-time donation through the same link. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can be a part of the show by calling and leave us a message, 803-672-0533, or you can email the show at theallaboutnothing.com or join our Discord server. Links are available at theallaboutnothing.com. Thank you again, Zach. Thank you, everybody, for listening. You all stay safe. Have a great week, and keep your hands to yourself. The All About Nothing podcast is produced and engineered by me, Barrett Gruber. Thanks to Cake for our intro music, Sick of You. You can follow everything Cake the band at cakemusic.com. Thanks to Muff the producer for our outro music. You can follow Muff on Instagram at Muff the producer. I am Barrett Gruber. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Barrett Gruber, or visit my Linktree /Barrett Gruber. Want to support the show? Visit our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com, and become a member. There are several tiers available, including memberships that give you early access to episodes as well as exclusive content. Visit theallaboutnothing.com. To find links to our social media, merchandise, and past episodes, visit theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be heard on the show, you can call and leave us a message. Dial 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is more than you can handle, check out our partner podcast. Zach and I host What the Pod Was That with Carrie Simmons. Visit whatthepodwasthat.com for links and details. Me takes a deep dive down the rabbit hole in episodes of Welcome to Wonderland. Available on all the podcast platforms. Visit WTWLpod.com for details. As well, you can listen to the political and social conversation between Dr. Jamela Brooks and Bill Kimmler on Black, White, and Blue in the South. Available wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe and share this show. If you're on YouTube, please like and hit the notification bell. Thank you for listening. The preceding podcast is a product of Big Media and copyright 2024, all rights reserved.